I had always been obedient, doing exactly what I was told. When my wealthy parents finally brought me home, my adopted sister whispered in my ear, "The position of the sterling heiress is mine. If you know what's good for you, get lost." I nodded obediently, turned around, and jumped into the traffic on the highway. My parents were terrified, dragging me back into the car with shaking hands and pale faces. My brother, face dark as thunder, warned me, "If you dare pull another stunt for attention, believe me, I'll send you back to that hellhole." I obeyed immediately. That night, I locked myself in the dog cage. My brother was dumbfounded. He dragged me out, grinding his teeth, looking at me like he'd seen a ghost. Later, when my adopted sister faked an illness, my brother forced me to donate blood for her. I immediately took the knife and sliced my wrist without hesitation. When my parents arrived, blood was spraying everywhere. They screamed, lunging to stem the flow. "Doctor, call an ambulance." My brother's face was white. After a long while, he stammered, "Mom, Dad, I just asked her for a few drops of blood for Chloe. I didn't tell her to slit her wrist." I blinked. My brother wasn't lying.
He didn't teach me that.
The counselors at the reform school they sent me to 5 years ago
Taught me that.
It took 3 hours of emergency surgery to stabilize my heartbeat, which had almost flatlined. Seeing my parents' faces turn green with rage, Chloe Sterling couldn't keep up her act anymore. It really wasn't me. She just suddenly cut herself. I was scared too, she sobbed, desperate to clear her name. My brother Liam immediately stepped in front of her, his tone firm. "Mom, Dad, this has to be another one of Maya's tricks for sympathy. If she really wanted to die, why not just stab her neck?" She slit her wrist, knowing she could be saved. "She's manipulative." I opened my eyes from the dizzying darkness, just in time to hear that. I slowly crawled to a corner. No one was watching, and immediately picked up the knife that hadn't been taken away yet. The sticky laughter and tearing pain from my memory swirled in my mind. I tried to stop my body from trembling and forced a pleasing smile. "Brother, sister, I'll listen to whatever you say." Then I pressed the tip of the knife to my neck and stabbed down hard. The family turned at the sound of my weak voice. Their souls nearly left their bodies. The room exploded into chaos. Screams, lunges. My parents coaxed and pleaded until they pried the knife from my hand. Liam wanted to say more, but my father slapped him across the face. "Enough." Dad threw the knife on the floor. His trembling finger pointed at Chloe, then at Liam. "Have you ever seen anyone seek attention like this? Look at what you've done to Maya." Chloe and Liam's eyes widened in disbelief. Chloe stomped her foot, tears welling up. Liam glared at me, grinding his teeth. "Maya, just you wait. If you make Chloe upset, I won't forgive you." I shrank behind my mother, eyes full of fear. My body reacted faster than my mind. I gently tugged Liam's sleeve, voice weak. "Brother,
I'm sorry.
I was wrong. I shouldn't have upset sister. I'll apologize to her right now." Before they could react, I slowly moved to the window, opened it, and under everyone's shocked gaze jumped. Silence for a second. Then a piercing scream tore through the room.
"Maya!"
My parents stumbled to the window. My mother looked down once and collapsed, fainting on the spot. My father scrambled to find a doctor, tripping over himself. Liam and Chloe stood frozen, completely dumbfounded. Wind rushed past my ears. A warm wetness spread beneath me, followed by shattering pain. Consciousness faded, and I slowly closed my eyes. That night, the fake medical records were slammed at Chloe's feet by my father. Chloe's feigned illness and Liam forcing me to donate blood were exposed. Chloe's tears fell instantly. She gasped for air between sobs. "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I was just so scared. Maya treated me so badly before. I didn't know if she really changed, so I just wanted to test her. I didn't mean to fake being sick." He grabbed clothes from her closet and stuffed them into a suitcase. "I know I was wrong. I'll move out now so I don't annoy you." Liam rushed to stop her, raising his voice. "Mom, Dad, you hear that? Chloe is just insecure. You know how badly Maya bullied her back then?" He glanced at my room, his tone getting agitated. "Did you forget what Maya was like? Arrogant, spoiled, wild. She went to learn manners for 5 years and completely changed."
Who believes that?
Does a normal person slit their wrist and jump out a window over a few words? She's ruthless to herself, which means she's scheming. I say her acting skills just leveled up. "Shut up." Dad shouted him down. My parents glared at him, but his words had planted a seed of doubt. From that night on, everyone looked at me with scrutiny, with my parents' tacit approval. Chloe's tests escalated, but when she poured a bucket of ice water over my head, I stood still, even smiling up at her apologetically. When she deliberately put seafood which I'm allergic to, in my bowl. I whispered thanks and ate it all. Watching the rash spread rapidly across my neck, Chloe lost patience. She grabbed a handful of sleeping pills and shoved them into my mouth. Follow it. Aren't you obedient? Let's see how long you can keep up the act. Dad paused, looking like he wanted to speak. Mom hesitated, reaching out a hand, then looked away. Liam stood by with his arms crossed, enjoying the show. They were waiting for the old, spoiled Maya to smash plates and throw a tantrum. Even Chloe tensed up. But I didn't fight back. I opened my mouth obediently and swallowed the pills. Chloe froze for a second, then her face went white. She lunged at me, fingers jamming into my throat. Are you crazy? Spit it out. Spit it out, Maya. Those are sleeping pills. You could die. Are you trying to frame me for murder? By the time the family doctor arrived, the corners of my mouth were bleeding. The induced vomiting was long and humiliating. I curled up on the sofa, shivering uncontrollably. Dad draped his jacket over me, with shaking hands, his red eyes glaring at Liam and Chloe. This is your brilliant idea? Are you satisfied now? Mom hugged me, wailing, Maya. My Maya, what happened to you? I just stared blankly at the ceiling light, unresponsive. After fainting that day, I had a long nightmare. In the dream, Chloe would scratch her own arm when my parents walked by, then cry into their chests. Maya hit me again. She would jump down the stairs when she saw Liam coming, then point at me tearfully. Maya pushed me. Whenever my family hesitated, she would choke up. Since Maya still can't accept me, let me leave. I'll survive on my own. In the dream, I was still the old Maya who couldn't stand being wronged. Every time I was framed, I would scream. And defend myself?
Oh.
Over time, I looked like the crazy one. Until the final straw. Chloe locked herself in her room and set it on fire to frame me. After being rescued, she insisted I started the fire. I went mad with rage and attacked her. And my family finally ran out of patience. I wouldn't listen to a word of my explanation. They personally handed me over to the traffickers, posing as a wilderness therapy camp, brainwashed by the smooth talkers. They quickly bought the pitch about learning discipline. They signed a 5-year contract to straighten me out. When I woke from the nightmare, a psychiatrist's face filled my vision. I was surprisingly cooperative. Maya, she asked softly, can you tell me why you don't fight back? Or even hurt yourself when others do things to you? I blinked. My voice was natural. Because only if I'm obedient enough, I won't get beaten. The sticks, the torn clothes, the dark cellar. I had tasted the price of disobedience enough. But doctor stared at me speechless. After a while, she tried again.
But you're home now, Maya.
There are people who love you here. No one will hit or bully you. I tilted my head curiously. No one bullies me. Does sister pouring water on me and shoving pills down my throat count as bullying? Does brother forcing me to give blood count as bullying? Or like mom and dad? I leaned closer and whispered, 1 second. They're hugging me, crying. But the next, even seeing everything Chloe did, they just watched. Because as they thought I was acting, they even think I'm sick and hired you. Does that count as bullying? I stared at her, enunciating every word. Doctor, disobedience leads to death. I used to have friends like me, but they're gone now because they weren't obedient enough. They were beaten to death. The doctor's hand froze in midair. Her face went pale. She repeated every word I said to my parents. The final diagnosis? Severe PTSD, with extreme submissive behavior and emotional dissociation. After the doctor left, my parents locked themselves in the study for a whole day, until Liam kicked the door open. The wood splintering around the lock. The noise was a gunshot in the silence of the hallway. My body reacted before my brain did. I dropped to my knees, forehead pressed against the cold floorboards, hands clasped behind my back. It was the safety position. At the camp, if you assumed the safety position fast enough, the instructors might only use the cane instead of the cattle prod. Maya, get up. Liam shouted, his voice cracking. I didn't move. I stopped breathing. Don't breathe. Breathing is defiance. Look at her. Liam roared, storming into the study where my parents sat like stone statues. That quack filled her head with lies. PTSD? Dissociation? She's playing you. She's kneeling on the floor right now waiting for an audience. Liam. My father's voice was unrecognizable. It sounded like gravel grinding in a mixer. Shut up.
No.
I'm not going to. I said, shut up. Dad screamed, a sound so raw it made the windows rattle. I heard a heavy thud, the sound of a thick file folder hitting a chest. Paper scattered across the floor, sliding near my face. I kept my eyes shut, but the smell of old paper and dampness drifted up. Read it, Dad whispered. Just read it. Silence stretched. The only sound was the rustling of paper. Then, Liam's breath hitched. This is fake, Liam stammered, though the arrogance was leaking out of his voice. Wilderness therapy? This says, strictly behavioral modification through physical reinforcement. Malnutrition reports. Use of electric shock. We called the number. Mom spoke for the first time.
Her voice was dead.
It's disconnected. We hired an investigator 3 hours ago. Liam. The school has been shut down by the authorities for 6 months. It was a black site. So? Liam argued, desperate to hold onto his hatred. So, she had a rough time? That doesn't explain. Look at the last page, Dad said. I heard the page turn. Subject 404. Maya Sterling. Liam read aloud. Infractions. Crying. Looking instructors in the eye. Attempting to hoard food. Punishments. Solitary confinement. Water tank. Sleep deprivation 72 hours. Removal of fingernails on left hand. Liam went silent. I knew that file. I missed my fingernails. They had grown back deformed, rippled like waves. I kept them cut short so no one would see. The friend she talked about. Mom sobbed, a high, keening sound. The investigator found the death certificates. Accidental deaths. Falls. Drownings. 7 of them in 5 years. Maya wasn't lying. She survived hell. And we sent her there, Dad finished. I heard footsteps approaching me. I trembled. Please don't use the heavy boots.
Please.
Maya? It was Liam. He sounded terrified. Maya, get up.
Please.
The floor is cold. He reached out to touch my shoulder. As soon as his fingers grazed my sweater, I screamed. It wasn't a human sound. It was the shriek of a dying animal. I scrambled backward, crab-walking until my back hit the wall, my eyes wide and unseeing. I won't do it again. I begged, my voice shredding my throat. I swallowed the pills. I cut the wrist. I didn't eat the bread. I promise, sir. I promise I won't cry. Liam froze, his hand suspended in the air. He looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in years. He saw the terror that wasn't acting. He saw a soldier who had been at war, begging her commanding officer for mercy. Liam fell to his knees and vomited all over the expensive Persian rug. The next week was a new kind of torture. They moved me into the master guest suite. King-sized bed, silk sheets, a balcony overlooking the garden. To me, it was a trap. Comfort was always the precursor to pain. At the camp, if they gave you a piece of chocolate, it meant you were going into the box for a week. I slept on the floor of the walk-in closet, curled up on a pile of laundry. It was the only place I felt safe. Dinner was the worst. They filled the table with food. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, glazed carrots. Eat, sweetie, Mom said, her eyes swollen and red. Eat as much as you want. I sat with my hands in my lap. I waited for the signal. You don't eat until the bell rings. Maya?
Dad asked gently.
Why aren't you eating? I'm waiting for the bell, sir, I whispered. Dad dropped his fork. It clattered loudly against the china. There is no bell, Maya. You can just eat. I didn't move. It's a test. If I eat, they'll beat me. Chloe sat across from me. She was quiet these days, her face pale.
She knew the wind had changed.
But she was watching me with eyes like a viper. Maybe she's not hungry, Chloe said softly. Or maybe she thinks the food is poisoned, like she used to tell everyone I did to her. Chloe, not a word, Liam snapped. His voice was hoarse. He hadn't slept in days. I looked at Liam. He was the ranking officer now. Sir, I asked softly, may I have the scraps? The what? Liam looked like he'd been slapped. The bones. And the peels. I pointed to the plate where Dad had discarded the chicken bones. At the school, the good dogs got the bones. I've been good. I haven't cried. Mom burst into tears and ran from the room. Dad put his face in his hands. Liam stared at me, his jaw trembling. You eat the meat, Maya, Liam whispered.
Please.
Just eat the meat. I took a piece of chicken. My hand shook. I put it in my mouth and swallowed it whole, without chewing, terrified they would take it back. I saw a flicker of a smile on Chloe's face. She enjoyed this. She enjoyed seeing that I was no longer a person, but a broken thing. 2 weeks later, the Sterlings were hosting the annual charity gala. It was a massive event. High society, press, cameras. We should cancel, Dad said. We can't, Mom argued, fixing my collar. She was trying to dress me in a beautiful blue gown. If we hide her, the rumors will get worse. We need to show people she's home and she's loved. I stood still like a doll. The dress was tight. It felt like the straitjacket. Maya. Chloe appeared in the doorway. She was wearing red. She looked radiant. Can I help fix her hair, Mom? I want to make up for everything. Mom hesitated, then nodded. Thank you, Chloe. That would be nice. Mom left. Chloe picked up a curling iron. She plugged it in. The heat radiated near my face. I didn't flinch. I prepared for the burn. You have them fooled, Chloe whispered, bringing the hot iron close to my ear. But not me. You're just waiting for your chance to kill me, aren't you? I am obedient, I recited.
We'll see.
Chloe smiled. Tonight at the party, when the music stops for the speech, I want you to get on the stage. And I want you to bark, like the dog you are. I blinked. If you don't, Chloe leaned in, the hot metal singing a hair on my ear. I have a stash of drugs in my room. I'll plant them in your bed. Dad, we'll find them. They'll send you back. Back. The words stopped my heart. The darkness. The screams. The smell of burning flesh. I understand, I whispered. The gala was a blur of lights and perfumes. I stood by the wall, trembling. Liam stayed close to me, acting like a bodyguard. You okay? He asked every 5 minutes. Yes, sir. Then the music stopped. My father walked to the microphone. Thank you all for coming. I saw Chloe across the room. She raised a glass of champagne to her lips and pointed her eyes at the stage.
Then she mouthed, now.
My programming took over. Fear of the camp was stronger than fear of humiliation. Stronger than dignity. I pushed past Liam. Maya, he called out. I walked up the stairs to the stage. My father stopped speaking, looking at me with confusion and hope.
Maya?
Do you want to say something? I looked at the crowd. Hundreds of people in tuxedos and gowns. I looked at Chloe. She was smiling. I dropped to my hands and knees. I lowered my head, and I barked.
Woof.
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 A deadly silence fell over the hall. My father dropped the microphone. Flashbulbs erupted like lightning. I kept barking, tears streaming down my face, my expression completely blank. I was a good dog. I wouldn't go back. Maya. Stop. Oh my God, stop. Liam vaulted onto the stage. He grabbed me, trying to pull me up. I bit him. I bit him hard on the arm, drawing blood, because a scared dog bites. Get off. I screamed, scrambling back. I'm being good. Tell Chloe I'm being good. The crowd gasped. The whisper went through the room like a wildfire. Tell Chloe. Liam looked at his bleeding arm, then at me, then across the room at Chloe. Chloe's smile faltered. She looked around and saw the eyes of the room turning toward her. Dad grabbed my shoulders. Maya, look at me. Did Chloe tell you to do this? She said I had to. I sobbed, curling into a ball on the stage. Or I go back to the hellhole. Please don't send me back. I'll bark all night. I can sit. I can roll over. My father stood up. He looked terrifying. He turned to the security guards. Lock the doors, he commanded. No one leaves. He pointed a finger at Chloe. Bring her here. The fallout from the gala was nuclear. The press had a field day. Sterling heiress tortured by sister. Chloe was grounded, stripped of her devices, and confined to her room. But she was dangerous. She was a narcissist who had lost control of her narrative. I was put on suicide watch. The doctor, Dr. Heiress, visited daily. Maya, Dr. Heiress said one afternoon. You don't have to obey Chloe anymore. She has the power, I said flatly. She knows how to make people disappear. No one is disappearing, Liam said from the doorway. He had a bandage on his arm where I bit him. He looked 10 years older. I'm sleeping outside your door tonight. Nothing gets to you. But Chloe found a way. She didn't need to come to me. She knew how to trigger the response remotely. 2 days later, I found a note under my pillow. The brakes on Liam's car have been cut. If you want him to live, meet me at the old boathouse at midnight. Come alone. If you tell anyone, he dies. Logic would say, tell Dad. Tell Liam. But trauma has no logic. Trauma says, it is my fault. I must fix it by suffering. I waited until the house was silent. I climbed out the window. Expertly, just as I had learned to escape the dorms to steal bread. I walked 3 miles to the lake. The boathouse was a rotting wooden structure at the edge of the estate. Chloe was waiting. She had a lantern and a jerry can of gasoline. You actually came, she laughed. You are so stupid. Don't hurt Liam, I said, shivering in the night air. I didn't touch Liam's car, you idiot, Chloe sneered. But I needed you out here. See, the narrative needs an ending. The tragic, crazy sister finally commits suicide. She couldn't handle the trauma. She began pouring gasoline on the floor. The fumes stung my eyes. You're going to stand there, Chloe commanded. And I'm going to light this. And because you're obedient, you're going to burn. Yes, I whispered. It made sense. I was trash. Trash gets burned. Chloe struck a match. She tossed it. Whoosh. The flames roared up, catching the old, dry wood instantly. Goodbye, Maya. Chloe grinned, backing toward the door.
Die quietly.
She turned to the door. It was locked. Chloe rattled the handle. What? She pulled harder. Open. I locked it, I said softly. Chloe spun around. The fire was building a wall between us. What did you say? I locked it from the inside when I entered, I said. My voice was strange.
Calm.
Detached. At the camp, we learned that if you want to trap a rat, you seal the exits. Are you crazy? Chloe screamed. Unlock it. We'll both die. I am obedient, I said, staring into the fire. You told me to die.
So I will die.
But you didn't tell me to let you live. Open the door. Chloe shrieked. The smoke was getting thick. She coughed, pounding on the wood. Maya, open it. I order you. You have no authority here, I said. Fire is the only master now. I sat down in the center of the room. The heat was blistering. I closed my eyes and waited. This was it.
Peace.
Then, the sound of sirens. Glass shattered. Water sprayed. An axe smashed through the door. Firefighters poured in. One of them grabbed Chloe, who was screaming and clawing. Another grabbed me. I went limp. I woke up in the hospital. My lungs hurt. Liam was sitting by the bed, holding my hand. He was crying silently. Dad was talking to a police officer in the corner. Arson, the officer said. Attempted murder. We found the gasoline can with her fingerprints. And we found the note in Maya's pocket. Is she? Dad gestured to me. She's awake, Liam said. He squeezed my hand. Maya? I looked at him. Did I do it right? No, Liam choked out. No, you did it wrong. You're supposed to survive, Maya. You're supposed to live. Chloe didn't get a reform school. She got prison. Because she was 18 now. The kidnapping, the arson, the years of abuse documented in the counselor's notes. It was enough. The trial was swift. I didn't have to testify. The video from the gala and the police report from the fire were enough. Chloe Sterling was sentenced to 20 years. When they took her away, she screamed my name. She screamed that I tricked her. That I was the monster. Maybe I was. I had locked that door. I was ready to burn her with me. 5 years later, I sat in the garden, painting. It was a chaotic mess of reds and blacks, but in the center, a single white flower. Hey, Liam walked out, holding 2 mugs of tea. He placed one next to me.
Thank you, I said.
I didn't call him sir anymore. I hadn't for 2 years. Mom and Dad are asking if you want to come to the dinner tonight. It's just family. I paused. The old fear flickered, the fear of food, of expectations. But I breathed through it. For seconds in, for seconds out. Okay, I said. But I choose where I sit. Deal, Liam smiled. My hands still shook sometimes. I still had nightmares where I was back in the cage. I still checked the exits when I entered a room. I didn't like loud noises. But I wasn't obedient anymore. Last week, Dad asked me to pass the salt. I said, no. Get it yourself. He froze. Then he started laughing. He laughed until he cried. It was the happiest moment of his life. I looked at the scars on my wrists. They were faded, white lines now. A map of where I had been. I picked up the paintbrush. I dipped it in yellow. I painted a sun over the darkness. It wasn't a happy ending. The memories would never fully leave. The hole in my soul was patched, not healed. But I was here. I was breathing. And for the first time in a decade, the voice in my head was my own. Liam? Yeah? I think I'll buy a dog, I said. A real one. And I'll never, ever teach it to sit. Liam grinned. Sounds like a plan. The wind rushed past my ears. But this time, I wasn't falling. I was flying.